You think they don't care? Then why do they keep tracking every trace you leave, even after you've completely vanished? Welcome to Channel Name, where we peel back the narcissist's masks, not just through lived experience, but in the illuminating light of Carl Jung's deep psychology. In today's video, we'll prove something you've suspected but never been sure of. Narcissists do feel your absence. Not just once, every single day. According to Jung, those who never confront their own shadow, the wounded part of their soul, they've rejected life behind masks, manipulating others to maintain the illusion of strength and omnipotence. But when you step out of that cycle, you don't just withhold your affection, you remove the mirror they depend on. You are their emotional supply, the very fuel they manipulate to feel alive. And when you go silent, stop reacting, and choose healing over retaliation, you force them to face their greatest terror, the emptiness within themselves. Stay until the end of this video. You'll discover why your silence carries more destructive power than any words, and why, in Jung's view, consciously walking away is an act of profound healing, not just for you, but for the darkness hidden within the narcissist. Part 1. Your absence is an echo they cannot silence. You think they've forgotten you, that they're living happily, posting radiant photos, embracing someone new, and never once mentioning your name. But the truth runs much deeper. A narcissist can mask their pain with indifference and paint a confident smile on their face, yet inside they wrestle every single day with the void you left behind. Carl Jung once said, "What is not brought to consciousness appears in our lives as fate." That emptiness is the shadow they've spent a lifetime covering up with control, with others' admiration, with praise, with power in the relationship. You were the mirror that convinced them they existed, that they deserved admiration. And when you walked away, the mirror shattered. No one remains to reflect the grandiose false self they so painstakingly built. They don't miss you, they miss the sense of existence you gave them. When you were there, every step you backed down after an argument, every tear you wiped away for them, every carefully chosen word to keep the peace, those were sustenance for their fragile ego. Each time you tried to understand them, you reinforced their power. What you didn't know was that you were feeding someone with a bottomless abyss inside. And the more you loved, the more you hurt. Then you decided to leave. No fanfare, no explanations needed. Just silence and disappearance. You stopped explaining, stopped responding, stopped playing the emotional game they always won. And you didn't realize that the very moment you chose silence was the moment they began to freefall. A narcissist doesn't know how to handle silence. They live off others' emotional reactions. They exist only in what you show, whether love or hate, forgiveness or anger. As long as you react, they feel central. But when you stop, everything collapses. Jung analyzed that the shadow does not vanish when ignored. It only hides, waiting to surge back more violently. For a narcissist, that shadow is the fear of abandonment, of being forgotten, of having their true self seen. They cover it up with mind games, story control, confident performances. But when you walk away, there's nothing left to cling to, no one to blame, no one to manipulate. And that forces them to face the worst thing of all, themselves. They won't admit it. Instead, they'll do everything to look like they don't care. They'll accidentally let you see them enjoying their new life, traveling, loving someone new, happier than ever. But all of that is a defense mechanism. Not because they're truly happy, but because they fear you've realized that you held the real power in the relationship. You are the one who left, and you didn't look back. That is the one thing they cannot endure. Not out of love, but because that truth makes them feel weak, hollow, and powerless. In the narcissist's inner world, being abandoned without a chance to fix things is a silent humiliation. They cannot accept being hurt. They only know how to hide it with arrogance and denial. You may be miles away, but you remain ever present in their mind, as an unhealed wound, as a lost mirror, as proof that no one can accept them perfectly as you once did. They may find someone new, they may surround themselves with admirers, but no one will reflect their ego as flawlessly as you did. You forgave without limit. You explained when you were the one harmed. You sought to understand when you were the one offended. And that created an idealized version of themselves in their mind, one no one else can replace. They might never admit it, but they know. And that is the clearest evidence that they feel your absence every single day. Jung also said, "You do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. By leaving, you robbed the darkness inside them of its refuge. You are not invisible. You are the one who forces them to see what they have never dared to face. And though they never say so, that knowledge makes them tremble in silence." So if you've ever wondered, do they miss me? The answer is not how you expect. They don't miss you like someone misses an ex. They don't regret you like one regrets a lost romance. They miss your presence like an addict misses a cut-off drug. They feel your absence like a mask wearer forced to stare at their true face in the mirror. Part 2. Your silence is the mirror they cannot bear. In the light of Jungian psychoanalysis, absence is not merely a state of quiet. It is an alarm bell that echoes more loudly than any accusation. When you let go and decisively walk away from the emotional game, each moment of your silence becomes an irrefutable indictment. You no longer supply them with emotional fuel. And it is precisely this, your unwavering, unapologetic absence, that causes the shadow they've always denied to erupt, forcing them to confront the inner void they've spent years filling with power, deceit, and arrogance. According to Carl Jung, a narcissist who has never integrated their own shadow will forever rely on others to validate their ego. They construct a mask, a flawless persona, and expertly manipulate gazes and reactions to nourish their illusion of strength. But the instant you step outside that frame, the grand mirror shatters. No more praise, no more limitless forgiveness, no more pleas that made them feel worthy, and suddenly their deepest fear bursts forth. They truly are less valuable than they believed. When you go silent, you not only withhold every reaction, you expose the dependency hidden beneath their facade of independence. Outwardly, they may posture as cold, confident, even contemptuous of your departure. But inside, they're frantically searching for a new supply, anyone who can reflect them. We call this the hoovering effect, a desperate attempt to suck back the spiritual fuel that's been cut off. Yet no surface act can forever conceal the hollowness within. Your silence is the final lock on the door to their control. They may advertise their new happiness on social media and laugh with friends, but all those moves are just a bandage over a festering wound. Jung emphasized that the shadow does not disappear when ignored. It only hides, waiting to surge back even stronger. For the narcissist, that shadow is the fear of abandonment, of losing power, of having their true self seen. By withdrawing, you don't just let go of them, you relinquish the ambition to sustain a relationship that served as their reflective mirror, inadvertently feeding a false ego. By not returning, not justifying, not explaining, you rob them of any chance to rewrite the script. No excuses to deceive others, no laments to hide their failure. They suddenly stand before a blank mirror, unsure how to reflect themselves next. And in that moment, your capacity for inner healing and growth shines through. Jung calls this process individuation, the journey back to oneself, shedding all roles and embracing both shadow and light. When you refuse to play along with their control games, you grant yourself the chance to truly see your own shadow, rather than exhaust yourself trying to soothe theirs. Your absence is not a numbing void, but a space of freedom where you no longer fall into the narcissist's maze. You emerge from their manipulation, making every effort to lure you back futile. They may sweet-talk you, feign remorse, even resort to pitiful theatrics, but you're no longer an audience for their drama. With each day you do not return, you affirm a powerful message. I am not your supply. I deserve to live fully as myself. That silent declaration leaves them dead silent inside. And though they may never utter a word, though they still act happy, all their gestures amount to dust before your true power, the steadfast strength of your silence. In the end, You realize that absence not only breaks the cycle of abuse, but also opens up space for healing for you and for anyone watching from the outside. By letting go, you free yourself from the painful loop. And that, in Jungian terms, is the boldest act of all. Not defeating the narcissist, but triumphing over yourself through self-knowledge, self-acceptance, and liberation from unacknowledged shadows. Part 3. The desire for control, not love. You may once have believed that if they truly cared, they would call you, apologize, or make an effort to change. But for a narcissist, an apology is merely another tool, a gambit to keep you hooked. Genuine affection grows from respect and mutual sharing. The narcissist's drive to control stems instead from managing your reactions. They care little for your happiness. They only need you to respond, whether with anger, helplessness, or pleading. Carl Jung observed, projection is a psychological defense mechanism whereby a person denies their own qualities, transferring them to the outside world, usually to other people. To the narcissist, every dispute, every flare-up of your anger or pain is proof of their power. And when you fall silent, when you refuse to react, they lose their most important mirror. At that point, the fear of worthlessness surges up, pressing on their consciousness. That's when they shift into hoovering mode, employing every trick to suck you back in. The hoovering game, the storm of return. The instant you disconnect, they'll deploy fake love, a sweet text, an apologetic call, even surprise gifts. Their aim isn't to repair the relationship, but to test whether you're still available. They bait you with vague promises. I've changed. I was only wrong once. The moment you respond, you confirm the door remains open, and they'll replay that game forever. Jung calls this projection. The narcissist projects their hunger for control onto you, so they don't have to face their own helplessness. If you don't respond, they feel you've rejected their power, which they cannot tolerate. The illusion of irreplaceability. Deep down, the narcissist believes only you can save them because you once endured endlessly and forgave unconditionally. They convince themselves you are their one and only tool, an invaluable supply. Jung said, people will do anything to cling to the persona they have created for themselves. For a narcissist, the persona, the public mask, is their fragile shield. You inadvertently painted that mask for them. You excused every offense. You accepted every lie. When you leave, they panic at the thought of their persona being exposed. Predictably, they try to recreate the illusion by chasing someone new, trying to force a copy of you, but they never succeed, because no one tolerates them as skillfully or as wholeheartedly as you did. Psychological fallout. The gradual collapse of the self. When hoovering fails, you don't reply to messages, you don't pick up the phone, you refuse to meet. The narcissist plunges into panic. They may ramp up the volume, smear your name, spread rumors to isolate you, play the victim, solicit sympathy by portraying themselves as wronged, change tactics, switch from harsh threats to sweet pleas. Yet every gambit falters against one unwavering force, your deliberate silence, because you no longer ride the emotional roller coaster they set. Jung warned, where shadow is unacknowledged, it appears as fate. The void you leave behind becomes the narcissist's fate, forcing them to confront the darkness they never dared face. When their persona shatters, they will flee, evade, or strike back with psychological attacks. But you are ready. You have detached your emotions, set your boundaries, and you will not relent. The power of distance, your personal healing process. You didn't walk away just to punish the narcissist. You left to free yourself. In that silence, you gain the opportunity to reflect on yourself, understand what wounds kept you tethered to them so long, integrate your shadow, accept your own darker aspects so you no longer seek worth from outside. Rebuild your persona. Shift from a supporting role to the director of your own life with clear limits and principles. Jung calls this individuation, the journey of becoming whole, shedding all masks, facing one's own shadow, and then being reborn with a complete, authentic self. When they reappear, opportunities and pitfalls. The narcissist may knock on your heart's door again with promises of remorse. Remember, they're still playing the game. Opening the door means letting the control resume. Boundaries are your key. Maintain distance and protect yourself from being drawn back into their emotional chains. Letting go means letting go. Forgiveness does not equal reinstating the relationship. From Jung's perspective, your freedom to choose whether to stay or to walk away is proof of your growth. You're no longer the mirror for their fragile ego. You are whole and free, a self-directed individual. In summary, Part 3 exposes the narcissist's craving for control masquerading as love. Your steadfast absence not only reveals their dependency, but also lays the foundation for your own healing journey. As Jung taught, by facing your own darkness, you are no longer subject to the shadows of others and thus truly return to yourself, stronger, autonomous, and more confident than ever. Part 4. Every day without you is a day they must ramp up their performance. The cave play. Glittering stage lights. Imagine the narcissist as the lead actor in an endless play. The stage is social life. The lights are looks, interactions, and comments on social media. Every comment and every like is applause that makes them feel alive. But when your absence creates silence, they must light up the stage with superficial tactics. Posting more photos, sharing inspirational quotes, even staging new drama to grab attention. According to Jung, the persona, the public mask, only holds firm as long as there is an audience. When you disappear, their most important audience member is gone. So each day they premiere a new show, dazzling travel shots, sweet stories of happiness, gym selfies to flaunt their body. They exaggerate every interaction just to hear their echo in virtual applause, a way to sustain the illusion of completeness and independence. Expanding the script, relentless performances. Their act doesn't end on social media. They perform everywhere. Old friends, casual check-in messages that secretly test whether you'll return. Work partners, flaunting career successes to make you jealous enough to come back. The new person, manipulating another, even shallow relationship, so you'll see, look, I'm still desired. Each tactic aims to prove that despite your departure, they're still okay. Yet this frantic performance betrays how fragile their persona has become. Jung called fleeing one's inner shadow via the persona an attempt to project the ego onto the outside world, and your absence robs them of their most vital projection tool, the mirror-reliant psyche, the crucial shard. You invested the most emotional energy into their performance. Each compliment, every word of comfort, every moment you stayed after an argument acted like thousands of small mirrors reflecting their true self. When that largest mirror you vanished, they flounder, unable to find other shards to reconstruct their persona. Jung likened it to this. The ego needs another soul like a plant needs sunlight. To a narcissist, you were the light nourishing their fabricated ego. Losing you forces them to seek a replacement, but the more they search, the clearer it becomes. No one reflects them as perfectly as you because no one knows their script so intimately. The illusion of new happiness, the magic trick of consolation. At the first sign of cracks in their old persona, they dive into a happiness alliance, announcing a new relationship, posting couple photos, writing sweet statuses. But this is merely a numbing injection, temporarily soothing the emptiness without healing the root. They hope the audience, especially you, will believe they've moved on, making you regret having removed them from your life's narrative. Yet Jung warns, any shadow not faced grows in secret. This happiness act is their shadow run amok, blinding them to reality. Each posted smile on social media only highlights your silence. The void you left causes every pretense to crumble the moment night falls and they find themselves alone with the darkness. Curtain break. When no one laughs for them. After performing I'm Fine for a while, there come moments they can't fake it. Their phone is silent, no one applauds, no one reads their latest update. That is the curtain break when the persona has no audience, and they face the cold void. Jung called this the moment the ego is stripped of its power, where all their schemes mean nothing in the face of emptiness. At that point, you don't need to return. You only need to remain silent. The longer your silence persists, the more they must replay their script, invent new stunts, or revert to old tricks, but they never address the root cause. And the more they perform, the more exhausted they become. The heavier their mask, the more trapped they feel. Reality and healing, light after darkness. For you, this distance is an opportunity to heal. According to Jung, individuation, the journey back to one's true self, occurs when we dare to shed all false personas and face our inner shadow. You do not return to their play. You choose to write your own. Reconnect with intrinsic worth. Recognize you deserve peace, not the abuse game. Rediscover your reflective power. You are the only audience necessary for your journey, not a supply for anyone else's ego. Be reborn with a new mirror. Honor your wholeness, refusing the role of supporting actor in someone else's life. The narcissist may continue performing until they find a new audience, but you, through your silence and resolve, prove that you control the stage lights, not them. And the true light in your healing journey isn't the glittering stage. It's the inner flame that ignites once every external script has fallen silent. Part 5. The truth that hurts them, not that you left, but that you didn't return. In Jungian terms, a narcissist's real agony doesn't lie in the moment you walked away. It lies in your resolve not to come back. When you step out of their emotional game, every narcissist assumes that enough apologies and promises will eventually make you collapse and run back. But the instant you don't pick up, don't respond, don't open the door, you send the deepest message of all. I am no longer your supply. That refusal is the true trigger that sends them into panic, more so than the very day you first left. According to Carl Jung, anyone who refuses to confront their inner shadow projects those dark parts outward to soothe their own fears. A narcissist builds their persona, a confident, independent facade, precisely to escape the terror of abandonment and loneliness. When you were there, compliments, half-hearted apologies, and endless forgiveness were the fuel that kept that persona alive. When you firmly let go, they unleash every hoovering tactic, apologetic texts, insincere sweetness, flaunted new happiness, all aimed at one goal, pulling you back so they can resume feeding off your emotions. But when you refuse to answer, to justify, to explain, all those tricks become meaningless. You are no longer the one upholding them in the world. You have escaped the role of their reflective mirror, and that shatters them. No one belongs in their play. No one validates their persona as real. In their panic, they ramp up their performance, bragging about achievements, self-praise on social media, flaunting a new partner, yet none of it can recreate the supply you once granted drop by drop. In that frantic state, their reactions become unmistakably Jungian. They crank their performance to a fever pitch, drag social media into the fray for empty applause, and spin the story of "I'm fine" to deceive themselves and everyone else. Yet your unbreakable silence forces them to question themselves. Am I really okay? For Jung, this is when the unconscious shadow fear of worthlessness ignites the most violent inner drama. Moreover, because you don't return, the narcissist is stripped of their power to rewrite the narrative for outsiders. They once controlled every detail: who was wrong, who was the victim, but your silence is that stubborn memory they cannot erase. No PR campaign can soothe the wound of your departure, for no one holds the power you did. No one understood their darkness so intimately, forgave so unconditionally, or stood by them when it mattered. Thus, they oscillate between smearing you to silence their own guilt and begging new supplies for pity. Yet no one truly grasps their whole story like you did. This process isn't merely a power play, but a forced self-examination. Jung believed that when the persona is stripped away and the shadow is exposed, a person faces two paths: sink into despair or confront the self and begin individuation, embracing both light and dark to be reborn as a whole individual. Narcissists almost always choose the former. They flee, deny, blame, or simply exploit a new supply rather than look inward. Meanwhile, by refusing to return, you compel them to face the truth. They don't know how to love. They only know how to manipulate, and they can't affirm their worth without someone else's reflection. For you, the steadfast choice not to go back is the highest act of integrity. You don't demand justice with words, you don't punish with aggression, you wield inner freedom as your statement. You declare to yourself and the world, I am sovereign, I am worthy, and I will not let anyone else define my value. In Jungian light, that is the final step of healing, daring to relinquish the mirror you once held for them so you can lift your gaze to your own inner light, embrace your shadow, and begin your rebirth. If a narcissist is lucky enough to find someone who stays, they'll replay the old game. But when faced with your unspoken silence, all they can do is look at themselves. As Jung put it, nothing melts the ego more surely than standing before a mirror that does not reflect. That moment may be brutal, even destructive, but it is the only chance they have to realize true worth cannot be bought with power. It emerges only through self-awareness. Part 6. You are not the one abandoning. You are the one escaping. Under the light of Jungian psychology, the act of leaving is not a simple step. It is the final spring of a soul returning to itself. You are not the one who gave up. You are the one brave enough to break free from the maze and find the path back to wholeness. Now is the moment to hold your head high, step out of the invisible cage the narcissist wove around you, and recognize the true value that has always lived within your own spirit. A narcissist spins their darkest impulses into a manipulative dance, casting you as their loyal audience. You laugh when they laugh, stay silent when they dominate, forgive every wound they inflict. But when you stop not to punish, but to protect yourself, you cease to be the audience and instead become both the director and actor of your own life. As Carl Jung emphasized, individuation occurs when we dare to let go of the persona and embrace the shadow within. Your refusal to continue the role is the very threshold of your self-healing journey. You did not walk away out of hatred. You walked away out of self-love. By accepting that you do not deserve to be the mirror for someone else's fragile ego, you free yourself from the burden of manipulation. Rather than feeding their power through emotional dependence, you transform your absence into a space for self-companionship. In that space, you listen to your truest voice, nurture long-neglected desires, and plant the seeds of your own worthiness, respect, understanding, and freedom. To the narcissist's eyes, your absence feels like betrayal. They reel in their greatest fear, losing the supply that made them feel alive. But you owe them no supply. You have given them the greatest gift, freedom. By refusing to return, you need no explanation or apology. Your silence and distance speak louder than any words. Jung called this a wordless indictment. You show them that non-reaction is the clearest proclamation of inner strength. In that pivotal moment, you begin to rediscover yourself. Instead of seeing through someone else's lens, you face your own inner darkness, fears, wounds, humiliations, and embrace them as part of you. When you no longer depend on the narcissist's gaze, words, or emotions, you uncover an endless inner light, your authentic self, free of masks and external validation. This process is not easy, but courageously confronting the shadow leads you to the threshold of light. You can now feel the shift. Your heart no longer trembles at every message or call. Your mind is no longer torn between anger and pity. Your soul no longer thirsts for a hollow apology. Instead, you live in peace with yourself, setting your own rules and boundaries. Each passing day, your silence not only protects you from the narcissist's cunning games, but also becomes a healing melody that resonates within your core. And the narcissist will feel it. They cannot bear your absence not out of love, but because they realize they cannot exist without you to reflect them. When you do not return, they must face the truth. Their persona lives only on the shards you once held. With no fragments left, the persona collapses, exposing a vast emptiness. Yet this is not your burden, it is the weight they chose. On your path of escape, seize this opportunity to rewrite your life story. Jung believed There is no greater challenge than the challenge to return to oneself. You can paint a new portrait of yourself on the foundation of confidence and self-respect, relinquish the victim role, abandon the cycle of abuse, and embrace the role of creator of your own destiny. This is your quiet yet powerful message. I am worthy. End quote. When you dare to step out, you not only liberate yourself, but also inspire all those still trapped. Your inner light will shine through the cracks of the narcissist's manipulation maze, beckoning those courageous enough to refuse the supporting role. As Jung said, those who dare to awaken will never sleep again. Your absence is an invitation to awaken, a living testament to the power of rebirth. In the end, you do more than leave a toxic relationship. You escape the cycle of manipulation and reclaim your wholeness. And in that very act, you complete the first step of individuation. No longer a reflective mirror, you become yourself free, strong, and radiant with the light of a soul that dared to face its shadow. When you decide to walk away, remaining silent and never looking back is the most powerful declaration. I am not anyone's emotional supply. I deserve respect and freedom of my own. Absence is not failure, but the pinnacle of Carl Jung's process of individuation, the moment you dare to relinquish every false persona, face your inner darkness, and reconnect with your true self. In a series of healing steps, you have identified the persona the narcissist built to conceal their dependency, stopped reflecting their fragile ego with steadfast silence, witnessed the endless performance they are forced to repeat without their most loyal audience, released your pain by no longer begging, explaining, or hoping for justice, embraced your own shadow, then ignited your inner flame, the belief in your true worth. And in the end, you are not merely someone who leaves, you are someone who is reborn. Jung asserted, where the shadow is not acknowledged, it becomes fate. But when you face that darkness head-on, you hold the key to liberation. A message for you: don't fear silence. It is a powerful catalyst for self-discovery and healing. Don't confuse walking away with giving up. You left to protect yourself and nurture your inner light. Don't underestimate the strength of distance. Each day without contact fortifies your self-respect and confidence. If you've watched this far, remember, every step you choose toward or away holds meaning, and sometimes choosing not to return is the spark that ignites a new journey where you become the best, most complete version of yourself. Subscribe and hit the bell so you won't miss upcoming videos on psychoanalysis, the healing journey, and deep Jungian insights into relationships with narcissists. Like this video if you found value in today's content, and share it with friends and loved ones so we can awaken and find ourselves together. Leave a comment below. What experiences have you had with silence and walking away? What topics would you like to see in future videos? Thank you for staying until the end. Let's keep going so that each day we not only learn to understand others, but also learn to understand and love ourselves.